How are you doing today? My name is Mary. This is Happily Ever Esch, and today I'm going to be sharing another Friday Reads for you. I've really been enjoying this kind of format of sharing what I've been reading through the week. Kind of keeps me on track, so let's just hop on into it. Finished 2 books this week. The first I listened mostly on audio but did kind of finish up the last 100 pages physically, and that's Miracle Creek by Angie Kim. This is a courtroom kind of literary fiction drama, a little bit of a mystery. I would call it more of a mystery than a thriller, but really it's following the court system and like what that looks like in this case, and I really enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy it as much as some people do. Some people like love this book, it's their favorite book, and I thought it was really well done. I thought that she explored a lot of different topics in this in a really deft way. I loved how she wrote about the court system. She is a trial lawyer, so she has a lot of knowledge, and I feel like her expertise really shone through in this book. And so it was a really solid 4-star read for me. I enjoyed it, and I'm really itching for more of Angie Kim's work. If she ever writes more, I think that she kind of really hits this genre nail on the head, if you will. There's themes in this of parenthood, of culpability. Does it mean to be culpable? I think it really looks at our judicial system and the broken bits of it, and what does it mean to kind of like pay for a crime, and who should have to do that. Yeah, it just kind of, I think, looks at the weaknesses in our judicial system, and that it doesn't bring pure justice because there's so much nuance in so many situations. This book also looks at children with special needs and seeking treatment, and like what is going too far, what is just enough, like what's it mean to be, you know, a parent of all types and sorts. But really this kind of then digs down a little deeper into some of those nuances and issues, and overall it was a really good read. It was a great book club discussion. This was my pick, and it seemed to be well received. I'm always a little nervous, you know, when you pick the book, it's like everyone going to hate it, but it seemed to be enjoyed by most of the group. So yeah, I'm really glad that I finally got to this one. It was definitely a buzzy book in 2019 and 2020, so I'm glad that I finally read it. And yeah, like I said, I really hope Angie Kim writes more courtroom dramas. Then a book that probably will sneak into my top books of 2020, and that's Our Souls at Night by Kent Haruf. My word, this book is gorgeous. He writes so simply. Deceptively simply. I think I've used the deceptively simple line to describe every one of his 2 books that I've read, but the multiple times I've talked about them, and I can't think of a better way to say it. And I wrote some notes kind of as I was reading this in like the beginning, just because I knew this was going to be a book that I would keep and reread and want to like go back and have those thoughts in there. And I wrote that this book like simultaneously like took my breath away, but was also the air that I needed to breathe. Like, he manages to do both. This book is sparse but beautiful, and it just kind of like hits you out of nowhere. Like, you know, I'm just like going along, and then like I'm sobbing at the end of this because I was just so emotionally wrapped up. This book looks at the mundane and the simple in the most beautiful way. He makes me like happy to be a person, like alive, enjoying the world. I think he makes me feel very seen in this book because he just is writing about simple moments. But kind of the synopsis, like the premise, I guess, of this book is there are 2 elderly neighbors. Addie comes over to Lewis's house and proposes that they spend their nights together, just for like companionship and friendship, and the story kind of goes from there. And holy moly, is this beautiful. This was published after Kent Haruf passed away. He was writing it while he had a terminal cancer, I believe a terminal lung cancer, and it feels like someone reflecting on their life and reflecting on what life is in the most beautiful and profound and simple but yet complex way. Like, gosh, I don't know how he does it, but I'm going to read all 5 or 6 works that Kent Haruf has written, and I'm assuming they'll all be a joy. So I think this would be a really good place to get started with Kent Haruf. You get a taste of his really simple writing style, but it's such a quick read. It's barely 200, it's not even 200 pages, this book. Yeah, it's 179 pages, and I'll show you, like, the writing is huge, and the chapters are short, so I loved it. I loved it so much. The 2 books I started this week, the first one is my physical read, This Tender Land by William Kent Kruger. I'm buddy reading this with Amanda over at the Curly Reader. We are pretty still early on, just the first couple hundred pages under our belt, but I'm really enjoying this. I've read some other of William Kent Kruger's work, and I enjoyed the book that I read, so I was very excited to read this one because it's been so well received. William Kent Kruger really seems to kind of focus on death in an interesting way in at least his other novel and this novel. And I know he's written like a mystery series, so I definitely think that death is something that he explores. It's not in a gruesome way. It's more like, what does it mean to die? What does it mean to live? This book is a nod to The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain, which I love. And yeah, we are following a group of teenagers who have run away from their boarding school and are kind of going on an adventure, escaping to freedom, and I'm really enjoying it so far. The prologue has already kind of been quoted a ton. It starts out and it's all about stories, and you can tell that William Kent Kruger just has a love for the written word and a love for stories that I think as book lovers we can really identify with. So I'm very excited to finally be picking this one up, and we'll be reading it over the weekend for sure. And then I'm also listening to Wondersmith on audio. My library finally got the audiobook, which I am stoked about. I'm really enjoying the audio. I had gotten about halfway through this, I don't know, when the book first came out, was first published. And so I'm still in the parts like rereading, so it's good to kind of be reacquainted with the world and parts that I've already known, but I'm really excited to continue on. This is a middle grade series, a magical world, chosen special child tropes, which I'm totally down for, but the world still feels very unique. And just, yeah, I'm feeling so enveloped in this audiobook story, and there's just something cozy and comforting about that kind of like magical school trope. I think because it does kind of harken those Harry Potter feelings, but again, I think this gets compared to Harry Potter a lot, and I understand in plot why, but they're very different worlds. But yeah, I'm definitely loving this story, loving getting wrapped up in it again. And I know Hollowpox is coming out soon, so I'm glad to be not getting too behind in the series. So I will also be finishing that one up, hopefully this weekend, the beginning of next week. And for what other books that are kind of on my radar to pick up, I'm not sure. So my husband and I are going to go to like a cabin. We're not camping, but it's camping-ish, like kind of in our cabin, and so I need to be like taking books with me, and this is always such a daunting task, but we usually, like when we're on vacation, we have like things planned to do. Obviously this vacation's looking a little differently, and we're not even like hiking and doing as much nature stuff as we normally do. We're just gonna kind of be like on the lake and just totally chilling, and more of like a self-isolating vacation. So I think I'm gonna have a lot more time to read than I typically do on some other trips that we've gone. So I'm feeling nonfiction, I think. I've been just very drawn to nonfiction. I've been reading more, and that's just really what was calling me from my shelves. So I'm taking a couple options. I'm also going to be taking a mystery, but my main goal will be working on This Tender Land by William Kent Kruger. That's my main focus for until I finish it. But let me show you what I will be taking with me as well. So the 3 nonfiction that I pulled off of my shelves are all very different from one another, but all ones that I'm really excited about. So I have Bill Bryson, I'm a Stranger Here Myself, Notes on Returning to America After 20 Years Away. This is almost like a collection of essays, and so I think that this will be a fun road trip read. Like my husband and I can read them aloud. We'll see if he'll appease me and want to do that. We've listened to audiobooks before, but I think it would be fun to like read to one another, and there's just like short little snippet essays, so I think that I'm going to ask if he would be willing to do that with me, but if not, like I said, I think it would be a good road book because you can kind of dip in and out and you're not like getting super stuck in the story. So like if you have to stop and get gas or whatever, you know, I think that this would be a good car book. And then for the two other nonfictions, I have The Year of Magical Thinking by Joan Didion, which is more memoir. I think really looking at her life after her husband passed away and like how she grew from that and like how she kind of lived on, and I have heard nothing but good things about this book, and I've never read any Joan Didion and I would very much like to. So this one I found at a thrift store, a used bookstore, for a couple dollars and decided that I was gonna pick it up. The back says, "Life changed fast. Life changes in the instant. You sit down to dinner and life as you know it ends." And wow, I think this will pack a punch and be a really powerful read. So that's an option if I'm feeling that route. But I guess this one's also kind of a memoir, so maybe they're more similar than I thought, and that's H is for Hawk by Helen MacDonald. This I've heard nothing but great things. I think it combines nature writing, look at hawks, the birds, but also our author's experience like training one of the like hardest hawks to train. That's really all I know about it. I did start to listen to this on audio a couple years ago, and the writing was just so beautiful and lyrical, and I was like, no, I think I'm gonna pick up the physical copy. Though I was a novice audiobook listener when I tried this, so it might work better now. But again, found a physical copy for not very many dollars at a thrift store, and I'm excited to give this one a go, and so we'll see if I'm in the mood. I think being in nature, this one is probably the one I'm more likely to pick up, just kind of, well, like full circle, nature trip, nature writing. We'll see. And then I also have a mystery because there's just something about vacation to me that says like, read a mystery. It's kind of like my cozy beach read genre of choice. And so I have The Widows of Malabar Hill by Sujata Massey. And this is a cozier mystery series set in India. And I'm here for that. Oh, and it's also set in like the 1920s, which again, historical, love that. So this is an option as well. All right, friends, what do you plan to read this weekend? Do you have any fun plans? I'm very excited to go sit on a lake shore for a week. It's gonna be lovely. But yeah, let me know what you're reading. I would love to know if you've read any good books lately. Let's chat about all that down in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching. I will talk to y'all later. Bye. My nose is being serenaded by pumpkin bonfire candle. If you like the marshmallow fireside, a little bit of smokiness in your candles, this one is making me have all the fall feels. We've been having some cooler mornings and I'm ready for pumpkins and candles and darkness. I'm ready. I'm ready. But then I'm like looking at my window at these like gorgeous morning glory blooms, and summer is still here, but we're getting a taste of fall, my friends.